So essentially, here today, people are waking up in a state of emergency and under curfew, as announced by the Haitian government last night, in the wake of the violence waged by the gangs over the last few days.
And Harold, is the situation calmer now that the state of emergency is coming in, or is there still fighting?
Well, for good parts of the city, it's eerily calm, but there are reports of looting happening in some parts of the city, and it's essentially gang-backed violence in order to try and topple the government.
Right. And of course, we've heard the individual behind this, Jimmy Cherizier. Just give us a sense from you, Harold, who this individual is. You'll know that our chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey, interviewed him last year, but talk to us about who he is and how much support he has from ordinary Haitians.
So Jimmy Cherizier Barbecue is a former police officer turned a notorious gang leader who has been pretty much a staple in terms of gang activities in the last few years. One of the perhaps sadly highlights of his career was in September, October of 2022, when he essentially blocked the country for roughly 7 weeks by cutting access to the main oil terminal, literally putting the country to its knees.
And how was he treated as a result of that? Did the authorities go after him? Were the people in support? Because he makes it seem, and certainly in the reporting that I've seen, that when he spoke to Stuart Ramsey, that he is in some way a state within a state. He's giving out aid to the people that need it because the state's not doing it.
Well, essentially, he called himself a revolutionary, where he's promising to take down the system, or so he claims. But essentially, for most folks here, they've seen waves and waves of violence waged by his gangs. And as of this week, he claims to have united all the gangs, even the rival ones, in order to try and tackle the Prime Minister, Ariel Henry.
OK, we're going to talk about him in a moment, but that's interesting that he thinks he's united all the gangs, because we've had these jailbreaks, haven't we? 4,000 inmates released. I mean, can we safely assume now that if they weren't barbecue supporters before, those guys he's released are now part of his gang?
Well, that remains unclear. Obviously, they're still trying to sort out the whereabouts of all these inmates that have fled. The official number is over 3,600, but there are at least 2 jails that have been broken into. So the real number is probably considerably more. As it is right now, it's still very early to determine their next steps.
And Harold, talk to us about Ariel Henry then. We saw that he was in Nairobi signing an agreement with the Kenyans to send police. Talk to us about how this came about. How aware were Haitians and Barbecue that this deal was about to be signed?
So since precisely these last events of September, October of 2022, where the country was blocked for 7 weeks, the government in Haiti had formally requested from the international community to provide a military or police assistance to help deal with the gang violence. And as such, the Prime Minister was somewhat compelled to go in person to Kenya after a refusal from the court system in Kenya to approve of this mission. He was essentially compelled to come and sign an agreement, which triggered the gangs here to start that wave of violence in that cycle.
Yeah, and essentially it seems as if a coup has been launched to stop that coming in. Harold, talk to us about what it's like to be in Port-au-Prince right now. As you know, you're a journalist, you're covering this story, but the ordinary Haitians, how they're dealing with this just latest round of violence on their streets.
Well, for the last few years, it's been a checkered reality with surges of violence here and there from time to time, or generalized upheaval or unrests in the country. That being said, people still have to try and survive on a daily basis. But Haitians are trying to cling on to some hope, which has, yet to come in a materialized way. And in that sense, that's why they were trying to turn their sight to Kenya, and other countries are pledged to send troops, but they don't know when that will happen, if ever. And
of course, I mean, the United States is right there. Is there I know that there's been some concern about which nationality should be there doing some of the security and peacekeeping in Haiti. How do the people feel? They just want someone to come in to try and to make it stable.
Well, the country has been mired in instability for a few years, and that had been aggravated with the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Haiti is facing both an institutional and a constitutional crisis. I mean, pretty much all the deck is stacked against regular folks here who are going through a lot of violence, displacement of people, migration, trying to flee the country at any way they can. So it's a lot for folks to deal with here on a daily basis.
All right, look, Harold Isaac, stay safe and thank you very much for speaking to us. And it'd be great if we could stay in touch. I'd like to speak to you again in a couple of days' time when we see how this thing plays out. Thank you, Harold.